A big test ahead. This opinion examines Pakistan's strategic balancing between China and the United States. Sino-Pak relations initially evolved within a geo-economic framework after the launch of the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. Sino-Pak is jargon, which means China-Pakistan relations. Geo-economic is jargon, which means the interaction of geography and economic strategy. This opening sentence serves as a thesis statement by stating that Pakistan-China ties began in an economic, BRI-driven context. However, over time, security considerations have increasingly overshadowed economics, leaving the relationship struggling between the two domains. Security considerations is jargon, which means defense and stability priorities. Overshadowed is verb, which means to become more important than. This sentence means security issues have come to dominate and strain the earlier economic focus. On the other hand, Pakistan-U.S. relations have historically been strategic and security-centered, but today they also face the challenge of balancing security with geo-economic priorities. Security-centered is adjective, which means focused mainly on defense matters. Geo-economic is jargon, which means economic policies shaped by geographic and strategic factors. This sentence means U.S. ties were once mainly security-focused but now must weigh economic interests too. Ultimately, the real test lies with Pakistan's establishment, whether it chooses to prioritize geoeconomics or maintain deeper, security-centered strategic ties with both global powers. Establishment is jargon, which means the country's dominant security and political elite. This sentence means Pakistan's ruling elite must decide whether to favor economic or security priorities. Nevertheless, these options will inevitably come with conditions attached. Conditions attached is idiomatic expression, which means demands or strings that come with offers. This sentence means any choice by Pakistan will have external requirements. Apparently, China's foremost concern remains security. Foremost is adjective, which means most important. This sentence means China prioritizes security in its Pakistan policy. At the same time, the U.S. emphasizes the economic dimension, framing its engagement as both an opportunity for financial advantage and a means to elevate Pakistan's political profile, particularly in the context of the changing politics of South and West Asia. Economic dimension is jargon, which means the financial and trade aspect. Political profile is jargon, which means a country's international standing and reputation. This sentence means the U.S. pushes economic benefits and diplomatic visibility as incentives. Pakistan's geography is undoubtedly a strategic asset, complemented by its aspiration to project itself at a level comparable, if not equal to, India's military, strategic, and political stature, at least in a sustainable sense. Strategic asset is jargon, which means a valuable geopolitical advantage. Aspiration is noun, which means an ambition or goal. This sentence means Pakistan's location is valuable, and it aspires to greater regional parity with India. Two perspectives emerge in this regard. Perspectives is noun, which means viewpoints or approaches. This sentence means there are two main ways to view the dilemma. One holds that maintaining strong ties with both China and the U.S. can help Pakistan achieve this status. Strong ties is idiomatic expression, which means close diplomatic and strategic relationships. This sentence means one view believes dual closeness to both powers can elevate Pakistan. The other, less popular but arguably more pragmatic, view contends that without ensuring political stability and sustained economic growth at home, such ambitions will remain elusive. Pragmatic is adjective, which means practical and realistic. Elusive is adjective, which means difficult to achieve. This sentence means the alternative view insists domestic stability and growth must come first. Maintaining an exclusive relationship with both China and the U.S. is a delicate task. Delicate task is metaphor, which means a sensitive and difficult undertaking. This sentence means balancing both partners is fraught and sensitive. However, maintaining an exclusive relationship with both is delicate, especially when there is a contrast in the approach towards and expectations from each other. Contrast is noun, which means a clear difference. This sentence means the partners' differing approaches make balance especially hard. The phrased securitization of bilateral relationship between the U.S. and Pakistan is echoing in Islamabad. Desecuritization is jargon, which means shifting a relationship away from a security focus toward normal political and economic ties. This sentence means there is talk in Islamabad about reducing the security emphasis with Washington. But it remains unclear whether the two nations, which have maintained close security-related ties for over 75 years, will suddenly shift the paradigm, especially when other avenues for cooperation are limited in scope. Shift the paradigm is idiomatic expression, which means change the fundamental way of operating. This sentence means it is doubtful that decades of security focus will be quickly replaced by a new model. Indeed, Pakistan scored a significant boost when it secured a deal with the U.S. on 19% tariffs, opening the door to the expansion of its exports with reduced competition. Opening the door is idiomatic expression, which means create an opportunity. This sentence means the tariff deal created an export opportunity for Pakistan. For much of the past 2 decades, however, Pakistan's trade relationship with Washington has been marked by a structural imbalance. The U.S. imports more from Pakistan than it exports, leaving an annual deficit that has averaged between $2 billion to $3 billion. Structural imbalance is jargon, which means a fundamental and persistent trade disparity. This sentence means the trade relationship has long favored U.S. imports, producing a deficit. Lower tariffs mean Pakistan must recalibrate its trade strategies. Recalibrate is verb, which means adjust or realign. This sentence means Pakistan needs to revise its trade policies in response to tariff changes. On the surface, its recent negotiations for textile concessions and the decision to import, according to reports, $1 billion worth of U.S. crude oil appear to be tactical measures to ease the strain. Textile concessions is jargon, which means trade preferences for the textile sector. This sentence means recent deals look like short-term tactics to relieve economic pressure. Similarly, discussions on crypto cooperation and energy resources exploration carry a futuristic tone, holding some potential to generate political capital and sustain bilateral confidence. Political capital is jargon, which means leverage or goodwill that leaders can use for political objectives. This sentence means new areas like crypto and energy could build trust and influence. Nevertheless, neither country can detach itself from the broader framework of security cooperation, whether in counterterrorism or regional stability. Counterterrorism is a technical term, which means actions to prevent or combat terrorism. This sentence means security cooperation remains central, especially on terrorism and stability. Washington's decision to designate the Majid Brigade of the Balochistan Liberation Army, a foreign terrorist organization, Islamabad's long-standing demand, reflects an unusual convergence of interests in this sphere. Foreign terrorist organization is a technical term, which means an entity officially listed as terrorist under U.S. law. This sentence means the U.S. designation aligned with a major Pakistani security request, showing overlapping interests. Yet a serious test for Pakistan could arise if Washington, in tandem with Saudi Arabia, presses it to endorse the Abraham Accords. In tandem with his idiomatic expression, which means together with or alongside. This sentence means pressure to join the Abraham Accords could create a major foreign policy test for Pakistan. Such a move would almost certainly come with binding conditions, foremost among them a recalibration of Pakistan's Iran policy. Binding conditions is jargon, which means obligatory requirements attached to an agreement. This sentence means any push to join accords would likely require Pakistan to change its Iran stance. Within this context, Balochistan assumes added significance, not only for its role in regional geopolitics, but also for the allure of its untapped rare earth mineral reserves. Rare earth mineral reserves is a technical term, which means deposits of critical minerals used in high-tech industries. This sentence means Balochistan is geopolitically and economically important because of strategic minerals. Outside these contexts, if the U.S. genuinely seeks to dehyphenate security from its relationship with Pakistan, the question remains, how can this be achieved while engaging primarily with Pakistan's defense establishment, which by its very nature prioritizes security? Dehyphenate is jargon, which means separate security issues from other bilateral ties to normalize relations. This sentence means it is hard to shift away from security when the main interlocutor is the defense establishment. Successive civilian governments have attempted to reframe their ties with Washington on non-security grounds. Reframe is verb, which means change the way an issue is presented or understood. This sentence means past civilian governments tried to broaden the relationship beyond defense. The last serious effort came under the PPP government after 2008, when, in the aftermath of Benazir Bhutto's assassination, the party mistakenly thought that it could alter the trajectory of bilateral relations. Aftermath is noun, which means the consequences following an event. This sentence means the PPP's post-2008 effort aimed to shift ties but failed. The attempt backfired. Backfired is phrasal verb, which means had the opposite effect to what was intended. This sentence means the initiative produced negative consequences. The Kerry-Lugar bill, which was supposed to broaden cooperation beyond security, instead became a flashpoint, straining U.S.-Pakistan ties and unsettling the civil-military balance at home. Flashpoint is metaphor, which means a focus of intense dispute or crisis. This sentence means the Kerry-Lugar bill provoked controversy and domestic tension. Another perspective available in the geopolitical domain is that the developments of 2025 do not represent a pivot away from India, but a diversification of Washington's approach to South Asia. Diversification is noun, which means expanding into multiple directions or partners. This sentence means Washington may be broadening its South Asia strategy rather than abandoning India. For Pakistan, the opportunity is unprecedented, a chance to reduce over-reliance on China, broaden its partnerships, and restore a measure of strategic balance. Strategic balance is jargon, which means an equilibrium in alliances and influence. This sentence means Pakistan could use the moment to diversify and rebalance its ties. Yet history warns of how often such openings have been squandered by short-term thinking, institutional fragility, and shifting global priorities. Squandered is verb, which means wasted or thrown away. This sentence means past opportunities were lost due to short-sightedness and weak institutions. The test lies not in the signing of agreements, but in their consistent implementation. Consistent implementation is jargon, which means faithful and continuous execution of policies. This sentence means success depends on follow-through, not announcements. If Islamabad can deliver reforms and Washington sustains its commitments, the deal may indeed evolve into a long-term framework of cooperation. Long-term framework is jargon, which means a durable institutional arrangement. This sentence means mutual reform and persistence could yield stable partnership. If not, it risks becoming just another episode in the long and uneasy history of Pakistan-U.S. relations, full of grand announcements followed by quiet disappointments. Quiet disappointments is idiomatic expression, which means unpublicized or slow to materialize letdowns. This sentence means without follow-through, the episode will end in disappointment. Pakistan's establishment does not see any major challenge in balancing its close ties with China while exploring new avenues with the U.S. New avenues is idiomatic expression, which means new opportunities or paths. This sentence means the elite believes it can manage ties with both powers. It's also not overly worried about growing China-India ties, knowing their relationship has never been truly strategic and remains uncertain in the near future. China-India ties is jargon, which means bilateral relations between China and India. This sentence means Pakistan does not view deeper China-India alignment as an immediate threat. Pakistan's confidence is anchored in its robust defense partnership with China and remains largely intact, even in scenarios where Beijing and New Delhi might coordinate strategies to outmaneuver U.S. President Donald Trump. Robust defense partnership is jargon, which means a strong military cooperation arrangement. This sentence means Pakistan relies on strong China defense ties as a strategic buffer. Chinese diplomacy, however, tends to be far less vocal than Washington's, and is often conveyed through understated gestures. Understated gestures is metaphor, which means subtle diplomatic signals rather than loud statements. This sentence means China prefers low-key diplomacy over public rhetoric. The Chinese foreign minister's recent visit to Islamabad centered on security, CPC, and new initiatives. CPEC is a technical term, which means China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. This sentence means the visit focused on security and China-Pakistan economic projects. Significantly, just a day earlier, he had been in Kabul for a trilateral security meeting. Trilateral is adjective, which means involving three countries. This sentence means the foreign minister was also engaged in three-party security talks in Kabul. Media reports suggest that while China and Afghanistan have advanced discussions on joining the BRI, momentum to extend CPEC into Afghanistan has cooled. Cooled is verb, which means slowed or lost urgency. This sentence means talks to expand CPEC into Afghanistan have lost pace. The Taliban, meanwhile, appears eager to cultivate an exclusive relationship with Beijing, independent of Pakistani influence, and China has agreed to connect Afghanistan through Central Asia via direct links. Exclusive relationship is idiomatic expression, which means a special bilateral partnership excluding others. This sentence means the Taliban seeks direct ties with China and China plans routes through Central Asia. This is a signal that Rawalpindi in Islamabad would do well to interpret with care. Interpret with care is idiomatic expression, which means understand cautiously and treat seriously. This sentence means Pakistan's capitals should heed this diplomatic signal carefully. The writer is a security analyst. Published in Dawn, August 24,